Hi, and welcome to the Caterpillar Cross Stitch YouTube channel. My name is Ford, and this week I'm going to show you a simple, no-fuss method for turning a small cross stitch into a beautiful, rustic holiday tree ornament, just like this one. Now I'm going to jump right into the tutorial here, but please do me a favor and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment down below, especially if you have a question you'd like to see me answer on the channel. I love to answer viewer questions whenever I can, and the comments are a great way to do that because I read every single one. So the supplies that we're going to need for this project are, of course, a finished cross stitch in about the size of the ornament that we want to have. I have already washed and ironed this one according to the method that I taught you in my previous video. Some fabric to back it with. You can use any kind of fabric that you want, including the fabric that you stitched on, but I'm going to be using a scrap of fabric that was left over from the tutorial that I did on making your own project bag, which you can find here. Going to need some measuring tools in order to measure out our sizes and our cutting. And you'll notice that my ruler here is labeled with a rule that I learned while working in a wood shop, which is measure twice and cut once. But there's another variant of that rule that I like even more, which is if you have to do it twice, make a jig. So I've made a little sizing template here for my ornament. The outer dimension is the total size of the fabric that I'm going to cut, and then the inner dimension is the actual size of the ornament that I'm going to have. So I've left myself a 1/2 inch seam allowance here. Need a way to mark the fabric with those measurements. I've got a fabric dressmaker's pencil here. I'm going to need some pins or some clips to keep everything in place while we sew that together. We will need some scissors in order to cut our fabric, obviously. I like to keep a large pair and a small pair on hand for different cutting tasks. It's nice to have a turning tool because we are going to have corners on this, and I want to make sure those corners are nice and crisp so it looks good. We'll need something to make a hanger for the ornament. I'm going to be using this natural jute fiber twine, but you can use ribbon or pretty much anything that you have laying around in your craft closet. It's not strictly necessary, but I would recommend having an iron and an ironing board, or one of these portable ironing mats that you can use on any table. I would recommend having a thread that matches the fabric that you're going to be using, but I'm going to use one that contrasts with my fabric just to make it a little bit easier for you to see what I'm doing. We're going to need something to stuff our ornament with. I have this bit of polyfill that I took out of a stuffed animal, and we're going to need some embroidery floss in a color that coordinates with our pattern. I'm actually using this one because it is one of the colors from the pattern. And then we're going to need a needle. Now, depending on the type of fabric that you're going to back your ornament with, you may need a sharp needle, or you may be able to use a tapestry needle just like you did for the cross stitching. And then, of course, we are going to need a sewing machine to do the actual sewing. Okay, now that we've assembled all of our materials, our first step is going to be to measure and cut our pieces of fabric. So I'm going to be using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, which I need to add that to both sides. So I need to add the total size of my ornament. I need to add 1 inch. So I want a 2.5 inch ornament, so I'm going to add 1/2 inch to each dimension on that. So I'm going to wind up with total 3.5 inches of fabric. So because I plan to make a few of these, like I said, I went ahead and made myself a little template for that, so I don't have to keep measuring those. But you can do that however you like. This just makes it a lot easier for me. And I am marking where my actual seams are going to be just to make it so I don't have to constantly eyeball that 1/2 inch. And because there will be a spot where that will be important, which you'll see later. I'll make this just a little easier to deal with by cutting off that excess fabric here. The little template with the window also makes it easier for me to make sure that I am getting my stitching centered in that ornament, like so. So now we just cut those out. While I'm doing that, take a second and go join our Stitch Club email newsletter. You'll get all the latest news from Caterpillar Cross Stitch about upcoming patterns, projects, retreats, socials, that kind of stuff. Plus, as soon as you join, you'll get a free ebook with 10 free PDF cross stitch patterns in it worth £60. So hit the link down there in the description or in the pinned comment so you don't miss out on any of that. Now it's time to prepare my hanger. You can use ribbon or string or whatever you like for this, but I like the nice rustic look of this bit of sisal twine. But this does create some challenges because of how easily it comes unraveled. So to start with, before I cut it, I'm going to wrap it with a piece of tape. Then I'm going to cut it within the confines of that tape. So that will keep that from coming unraveled, and it won't be a mess next time I come to use that. So then I'll do the same thing over here. So one of the big mistakes I see a lot of people making Christmas ornaments make is they put big, long hanger loops on them. But if you're going to be hanging them on a tree, if you put a big, long loop on it, then you have to feed that loop over the needles on the tree. So I don't like that. I like a nice short loop, and then I can use one of those little metal hook hangers instead. It's just a lot easier to actually display it. So I'm going to be making a nice short loop for my hanger. So I'm going to get this sized appropriately. I'm going to put my two strands of it together to hold them together so that they sew onto the piece more easily. And then go ahead and trim that again. And I want to be able to easily center that on my piece, so I'm just going to take my backing fabric here and I'm going to fold it in half. Give that a little bit of a press to make a mark there. And I'm going to be putting my stitched piece and my backing fabric together as though inside out, so right sides together. My backing fabric is just this unbleached muslin, and it's the same on either side, but if you're using a printed fabric, you want to make sure that you're putting it right side, facing sides together for both of these. And I want to put my hanger in between those two layers of fabric and centered with that mark that I just made. And then I will clip all of those bits together. All right, now because we're going to be sewing this inside out, we're going to need to leave some space in order to be able to turn it right side out. I'm going to leave that space on the bottom. This is why I marked where my seams are going to be, because I need to follow these lines pretty precisely. Now we don't want to leave a whole side open or we won't get neat corners when we turn it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little mark for myself here to remind myself to stop there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the bottom. I'm going to go all the way around, except for about an inch or a little over an inch of the bottom seam, so that I have nice sharp corners that I can turn when I get to them. And because I am going to be turning it against these seams, I do want to do the back and forth locking stitches at these points to make sure those seams are nice and strong. Then when I get to a corner, I'm just going to leave my needle down, lift my presser foot, turn it, and keep going. If you are using a natural fiber like the jute or sisal twine that I'm using, I would recommend going back and forth across it a couple of times at this seam, because you don't want it to come undone. It'd be really hard to fix if it did. Then we just want to go ahead and trim up all of our tails from our threads. And now we want to trim our seam allowances and clip our corners. So I'm going to trim these down to a little under 1/4 inch. And clipping the corners like that just makes it so we get a nice sharp corner when we turn it right side out, which is now our next step. So this is going to be a little bit difficult because we have kind of a small space here and the Ada is kind of stiff, but the hanging loop should actually be helpful in that because we can kind of pull it through. You know, you're really missing out if you're not taking advantage of the rest of the Caterpillar cross-stitch community. There's an amazing Facebook group and tons of people following the Instagram. It's a tremendous resource to be able to perfect the craft or to get ideas for projects and finishing. So make sure you check those out. And this is where the turning tool can come in pretty handy, but you want to be very careful because it's really easy to accidentally stab through the Ada and make a mess for yourself. So be very, very careful, especially with the point of the turning tool. Okay, there we go. So now is a good time to press this flat, and we want to fold those little seam allowances on the bottom side underneath and inside, because we're going to be closing that up by hand. And so now we just want to go ahead and stuff this with some of our polyfill. We don't want to stuff it too big because we don't want it to be all bulbous, but we want to give it a little bit of dimension. So just going to put little bits of that in there at a time. Use a pencil or a turning tool or something else to make sure we get some of that up there into the corners. I think that, just a touch more, just a tiny bit more. Okay. There we go. Now, there are a couple of ways that you can finish it from here. One would be to run a top stitch around the edges with your sewing machine, and that would kind of crimp these edges flat a little bit. But I found with loose weave fabrics like my muslin and this Ada that the sewing machine doesn't like to do that. It will chew the fabric up. So you can sandwich it between a couple of pieces of paper to do that, or there are other sewing tricks that you can use. Or you can just use a invisible stitch and stitch this bottom side closed. But I kind of liked the rustic look of some visible finishing stitches. So I'm actually going to finish the edges of this using a blanket stitch and one of the colors from the project. Very handy to have a needle minder here to help keep my needle in place while I'm doing things like prepping my thread. So what I like to do is to just start that by tying a knot in the end. And then making my first stitch from the inside so that my knot is hidden. So I'm going to start in a corner over here. Then I like to work from the front where I can see the Ada because it makes it easier for me to make sure my stitches are evenly spaced because I can just count squares of the Ada. So I decide how big I want those stitches to be, and then I can just make sure that they're consistent by counting the squares on the Ada. So I'm going to do my stitches 2 stitches in from the edge and 3 stitches long. So I just count the holes. And I'm using a really long piece of embroidery floss here because I don't want to have to start and stop, because that creates potential for mess or for things to come undone. And a blanket stitch is a very easy stitch and really useful for a lot of things that you would do hand sewing on. To do it, you basically drive your needle in through your fabric, and then pull your stitch most of the way through. And you'll see that that creates kind of a little loop here out of your thread. So all you do is you stick your needle through that loop before proceeding on to the next stitch, and then pull it straight out, because that will cause your thread to run right along the edge seam, which is the look that I'm going for here. Now my stuffing's coming out here just a little bit, so I'm going to cram that back in there and continue on around. If you're thinking about trying something new, why not check out Caterpillar Crochet? It's the same amazing supportive community and team that you're used to, with the same beginner-friendly patterns and kits. Find us on Facebook or on Instagram to check it out. Then when you get to where your hanger is, you can choose either to have your stitches go in front of it or behind it. I'm going to go in front. When we get to the end, we just tie our thread off, and you might need to massage it a little bit to get that stuffing to recenter itself. The thing I like about using the blanket stitch to finish it is that it solves my problem of needing to close up that bottom seam, but it also adds a nice decorative handmade element to it. That's also part of why I chose such a rustic aesthetic for the whole thing, is so that I don't have to worry quite so much about all of my stitches being perfect and neat and tidy. Like, every mistake that I make just adds to the rustic handmade charm feel of the whole thing. It's a much nicer size for an ornament to me than the big ones that you see a lot of people making, and especially making a shorter loop so that I can just use a wire hanger instead of having to feed the hanging loop over the needles and branches and stuff is a lot nicer. So we are all done. So there you have my method for making a cute little rustic cross-stitch holiday ornament. I looked around at a bunch of the ways that other people were doing them, and I kind of felt like they were all too big or used too many other special materials and stuff. I wanted something that would just be a little bit simpler and quite a bit smaller. So that was why I developed this particular technique. If you liked it, or if you have questions or feedback or a suggestion for a way I could do it better, leave that in the comments. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. That is all I have for you this week, though, so I do want to thank you so much for watching. For Caterpillar Cross Stitch, my name is Ford, and I will see you next week.